Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be 10 tips for time management and motivation. Let's go ahead and just jump right into it because we're on a time crunch. Alright, I'm being corny. The first tip that we have is to do more, think less. Thinking and worrying and creating internal stress for ourselves is the biggest time consumer. Quit thinking, quit overanalyzing, and quit worrying and just do it. Everyone believes that motivation is the cause for action, but it's actually the opposite way around. Action creates more motivation. When you actually do things, you feel good, you feel inspired, you feel like you actually accomplished something, and then in turn it'll be easier to keep that action up and going, and you're more motivated to maintain that action. Action can be as simple as planning or researching your goals. When you sit there and think, I'm overwhelmed, I don't know where to begin, I don't know what to do, blah blah blah, those are all kind of just excuses for you not to start taking action towards your goals. And instead of taking action towards your goals, you're taking action towards your distractions. So quit thinking, quit waiting for motivation to happen. It's not going to happen without taking action. Just do something, anything, to start your goal. The second tip that I have is to stay in your lane. Focus in on your goals and your goals only. Don't look over and compare yourself to other people, because all that time that you're taking looking over there is taking away from the time that you're supposed to be doing things for you and yourself. There's a quote that I came across, I completely forgot where I found this, but it said, Michael Phelps looks at the wall in front of him, not at the swimmers around him, which is why he gets there first. He doesn't compare himself to the other people. He focuses on what he's trying to accomplish for himself and himself only to get to that wall. When we start comparing ourselves to other people, generally that means that we're trying to prove something to other people. Live a life that's true to you, that you're happy with, and not live a life trying to prove your happiness to other people. There's a quote from The Alchemist that says, everyone seems to have a clear idea of how other people should lead their lives, but none about his or her own. It's so very true. The third tip that I have is to prioritize your life. Prioritize what you're trying to accomplish in the moment. If you have a whole bunch of things that you want to get done, write them all down on a list, just brain dump it, and prioritize it from top priority to things that you feel like aren't as of importance. My thing is always to zone in on the top 3 things that you're trying to accomplish right now. Your top 3 priorities. I call them MITs. I have 3 MITs for my day. I have 3 MITs for my bigger goals. Focus on the top 3, because if you're focusing on too many things at once, you're not giving 100% to any of those. You're kind of half-assing all of them instead of just zoning in and giving 100% to the things that you want to accomplish. Once you master that priority, you're able to shift over and focus onto the next thing on the list. Another thing here that I really find important is that you learn to let go and release things that you no longer want, and that's totally okay. It might feel a little bit weird at first. For example, I've been wanting to get a new car for the longest time. I'm finally able to do it, but I have different priorities that are more important to me right now, and so I've kind of let that dream go in the back burner. And just because I've wanted it for so long doesn't mean that I have to do it because I've worked so hard to get it. If your priorities shift, that's totally okay. Learn to release them, let them go, and zone in on the 3 top priorities that you have for yourself right now. Sometimes these goals are ever going. For example, like I wanted a YouTube channel. I'm never gonna like check that off the list because it's ever going. It's not something I'm trying to get. I want to do a podcast. It's gonna be the same thing. I'm gonna have to work at it every single day. But it's also really important to start delegating your tasks if you can. So delegating is basically putting the responsibility on somebody else and letting it run itself. An example would be my budget. I always do budgets. I've delegated that task to her, so now that frees up space for me to focus on the next priority and task on my list. So delegating tasks, delegating things that can kind of run themselves is really important to kind of free up your time without like letting the priority just go down the drain. The 4th tip that I have is to break it down and write it down. Big goals can be extremely daunting. I wanted to start my podcast, and I remember just writing that down on my list, like start a podcast. Like podcast was my top priority, and I looked down at the paper for like a good while, and I was like, what the hell, where do I begin? I'm stuck. It just seems so daunting. And what I do is I break it down into manageable tasks. So podcast, let's think, okay, first, how do I even do it? What's the equipment that I need? What is the editing software that I need? How do I get on Spotify and iTunes? I wrote all these things down and kind of made like a little tree, if you will. And I kept breaking that down until I got things that I can do and cross off and work my way back up to that bigger goal. I wrote down podcast. So here's an example of what I did, okay? Podcast. I wrote the words down that I wanted to have the topic idea for, so those were kind of just like a brain dump. I had a to get list, I had a title, I had the editing software. I found out that I had to find a URL hosting RSS feed, whatever that was. And I wrote down things on each page on how to accomplish them. And as you can tell, I've highlighted the things that I've already done. I've wrote down prices of things were. I wrote down the podcasting 101, like step-by-step guide of things that I need to figure out. The editing software was like a whole thing in itself that I had to figure out. It just kept growing. And that's okay. That's another thing that you need to keep in mind, is that you think like once you break it down, like, oh, I can do all of this. All I have to do is check, figure it out, and I'll be there. There are going to be things that you did not plan for, that you weren't expecting. There's going to be hurdles. There's going to be things that are like taking way longer than you thought, and you're going to just have to add that to the list. Take a breath. You are going to have to overcome them, and that's what makes it worthwhile, because a lot of the times your big goals can be daunting, not only to you but to everyone else, which is why it's really hard and sometimes competitive to get the things that you really want. For example, let's say you want a Range Rover. Not everyone can go get a Range Rover. It's not that simple to go get a Range Rover, but if you really want it, you can figure out ways to get it. When you come across things that are gonna stop you and put you in your place to be like, hold up, this is way harder than it looks, and you figure out a way to accomplish that, or you add it into your little tree, that's what makes it worthwhile, because a lot of the times when people come across that hurdle, they're either one, too lazy to figure it out, their priorities shift and they no longer want it, or they just feel like they can't even get it. So when you accomplish it, that's what makes it such a great opportunity and why it's so hard to achieve. So when that happens, try your best not to get frustrated and just add it to the list and make it another manageable task that you have to overcome. The fifth tip that I have is to create a schedule of your day the night before. This is really important because you're starting your day, you know exactly what to do, what times you're going to do it, and you've kind of put all the tasks in an order that makes most sense for you. And instead of waking up the day of and having to go through all that and kind of getting stressed and overwhelmed and things are coming at you and you have emails and all this other stuff, when I schedule my days, I like to schedule everything in a time frame which makes the most sense. For example, I used to work out in the mornings. I'm kind of now a later workout person, is that a word? I work out later in the day. It makes the most sense for my schedule when I have it all broken down. If I am sitting there editing videos and I do, like, I record a podcast or something and then I go work out late at night, and the next day I know that is going to be a filming day, I'm going to take a shower at night, let my hair air dry while I'm sleeping, wake up, straighten, go straight to filming. Whereas if I worked out in the morning, I'd have to work out, take a shower, get ready, do my hair, and that just really wouldn't make sense for my filming days. I completely erased the task of drying my hair out, which takes so long. Doing that every single night and sitting in front of your planner and just organizing all your tasks for what's going on in the day is just so helpful and manages your time better. The sixth tip that I have is to eliminate as many decisions as you can. This is something that I've learned in The Happiness Equation, which is one of the best books I've ever read in my life. I'll leave it linked in the description box. It's so simple and super motivating. He is gonna write down every single decision that he thinks of in the morning, because he read that CEOs, like, they wear the same thing every single day, so they eliminated the decision of having to figure out what they're gonna wear, which gives them more time throughout their day to do other more important things. So I think Mark Zuckerberg does that, but a lot of CEOs actually do that. But he wrote down all of his thoughts. Look at that. Insane. Should I get up now or sleep a few more minutes? And then he thought it again. And then he thought, should I go to the bathroom? Should I have a glass of water or jump right in the shower? Should I go to the gym? Should I have a shower here or at the gym? Do I have time to go to the gym before I leave now? Should I eat breakfast after or make a shake in the car? Should I put cinnamon in my shake? Should I put yogurt in my shake? Like, he goes on about how many freaking decisions he has. And it's such a waste of time to sit there and think and figure out this overwhelm that's going on in our head. And that's one of the reasons why I schedule my day ahead of time, because I know exactly what's going on. You can set up a morning routine or a night routine that, again, you kind of follow, which again eliminates your decision. Like if you say, I'm gonna wake up, get a glass of water, take a shower, read a chapter in my book, read through my emails, setting up your day like that doesn't require a lot of decision making and frees up your time so much, which is why I feel like routines are so popular. One of the things that I've completely eliminated from my decision making is makeup, my makeup routine. I do the same exact makeup routine when I get ready. I don't have to think about what blush I'm gonna use, what eyeshadow I'm gonna use. I just have a set routine that I do. It doesn't require much thinking. And if I did have that routine where I kind of just like did a free-for-all and experimented with my makeup every single day, I would waste a lot of time, thought, and energy into that, where I don't really want to place my time, energy, and thoughts on that specific task. I want to have room for thought and more time doing things that are more priorities for me. The seventh thing that I have is to keep up with your space. Keep it clean, keep it organized, and keep it up throughout the day. For example, if you eat something on a plate, wash that one plate, put it away. It's so much more easy to do that than to sit there and let dishes pile and pile and pile up. If you brush your teeth, put the toothbrush back. If you let your environment get stressful, you're letting your mind get stressful. Whereas if you have a clear environment, you have a clear headspace. Environment is like such a reflection of what's going on inside your mind. So when you have the energy and the time to clean and keep your space organized, do it. Every single night I have like a 5-minute cleanup. I do the dishes, I put everything on my desk away, I do the nightly planning, and then every single Sunday I do a deep cleaning of my apartment, and it just totally creates space for motivation and inspiration to get stuff done, and it doesn't require a lot of energy and time to keep up with my space. I don't let it get to that point. The 8th tip that I have is to treat your goals like your job. This kind of reminds me of like what my mom used to tell me when I was a teenager. I would be like so mean to her, like a typical teenager, argue with her, and she would say, do you treat your teacher like this? And I'd be like, no. And she'd be like, why? And I always had this mindset of like, because it's my teacher, I'm supposed to respect her. But I love my mom more, so why am I treating her like shit, but I'm not doing that with a teacher who I don't really care about. You have to treat your goals and your priorities in life as you would if they were somebody else's and it's your job and you're relying on it to get paid. I always struggled with working for somebody else and seeing people work their asses off. They work overtime, they stress, they worry, and they cry, and mentally they aren't healthy for someone else's job so that they can get a minuscule paycheck compared to what they're making them. And that always just like rubbed me the wrong way. And when people let their jobs override their top priorities and their happiness, I just don't understand that. An example would be if you come home late at night and your boss asks you to work overtime, but your top priority is, I wanted to go to the gym tonight. Would you work overtime? And when I say overtime, these are people who get paid salary, so they're not getting paid extra. They work overtime and it's just overtime. Like, it sucks. But would you work overtime to make sure that your boss is happy? Or did you want to say, hey, I'm planning on going to the gym tonight for my priority, my health, my happiness, my wellness. I believe that your priorities and your passion should always be number one. Obviously, if you have to work overtime to make a quick extra buck and you need the cash, that's a top priority for you, by all means work overtime. But what I'm saying is people put other people's priorities ahead of theirs, and instead that should be flipped around. So take ownership of your goals, put a responsibility on your goals like how you would your job. And when you do this, odds are you're gonna just have to get it done just like you would if you had tasks at your job. The 9th tip that I have is to learn to say no. This one is extremely hard for me. I feel like when opportunities come my way, I'm just like, yes, 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 because I've had lack before, and so when I see it, I feel like it's never gonna come again, but that's not the case. Release the guilt for saying no. This is gonna free up your time to do the things that you wanna do. So I have 3 questions that I always ask myself if I'm trying to figure out if I should pass up the opportunity or not. Number 1, is it part of my main priorities? Number 2, is it beneficial to me at all? And number 3, will it come again? An example could be, like, say, going out with your friends. Your friends, they're like, hey, let's go grab a few drinks tonight. Number 1, is it your main priority? Is one of your priorities to spend more time with your friends or be more social or get out of the house more? If so, obviously go for it. Go have a drink. If your top priorities are to get a better night's rest, eat better? Is that part of your priority? Obviously, no. Let's go on to the next question. Is it benefiting you at all? If you want to be more social and it makes you happy to go see your friends, go for it. If it's not benefiting you and you don't really want to go out and you know you're gonna have a bad time, then don't go out. Will it come again? Will your friends ask you to go out again? I'm pretty sure they will, unless you're like moving tomorrow to another state or something. It's your last opportunity to go hang out with them. Go hang out with them. Number 10, keep on keeping on. So a lot of the times it feels like we're going nowhere, we're not accomplishing anything, but you have to remember that the smallest progress is still progress. One day you're gonna look back and be like, holy cow, I'm here. And not only am I here, I've been here. I'm so focused on my future goals and tasks that I completely forgot where I came from. If old me saw where I am now, they would die to be where I am. You have to remember the days that you prayed for what you have now. Even though it feels like you're not getting anywhere, trust me, you are. Like I said, action can be planning, researching, like even just talking about it with friends if you have a goal or something that you want to accomplish can definitely be taking action. It's small progress, but it is progress overall. And number 11, if you stuck around to the end, you get a little bonus tip, is to keep the inspiration going, which you're on the right track because you're watching this video right now, which means that you're trying to accomplish something, you're trying to get better time management skills or motivation or inspiration, whatever the case is, but you're doing it right now. It can be hard sometimes to keep our tasks going, especially if it's a goal that's like a long-term goal, because the spark sometimes goes away. We get like super excited for something and then we kind of just like drown and like forget about it. We're not putting our time and energy into it anymore, which is why we're not seeing it flourish. But when you keep the inspiration up, it's so much easier to sit down and actually get things done and put your time and energy into it. Some things that I like to do to keep the inspiration is maybe put on some nice music, cozy music, especially in the morning. It helps me like get into my routine, get things done, accomplished. I feel like super peppy, up and ready to start my day. Keeping people in your life that inspire you and motivate you, people that have the same mindset as you, have the same goals and aspirations as you. It could be like idols, so like watching interviews for your idols, following them on social media and looking at their feed, which creates inspiration for you of like what you want to accomplish. Growth and learning is a big one. Watching YouTube videos like this and getting some motivation and inspiration from that. I love reading books. Whenever I read like a self-help book, it just like totally puts me in the mindset of like, okay, time to get things done, putting all my time and energy into this. And then also you can like research on your own. Another thing to keep it alive is vision boards. I like to put my inspirational pictures that motivate me on my laptop background, on my phone background. You can make a vision board for your wall. I like to do post-it notes like affirmations. Like I write my 3 MITs, my 3 main goals on a post-it note on my desk so I can see it every single day. And again, it just kind of helps you stay on track and in your little lane of why you want to accomplish things. So yeah, that is the final tip for the top 10 tips, 11 tips for motivation and better time management skills. I hope you guys got something from this. Now turn this off, go accomplish something. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you guys all in a future video. Bye guys.